Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also your AMC Movie News Production Manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and want to give a shout out to Ray, who works with us behind the scenes at AMC. He picked up a little Pacific Rim toy for me.
That's a nice toy,
yeah,
man.
I'm going to add to my office collection. So thanks.
And also your AMC's Christian Harloff.
I don't have a laptop.
The next installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, is scheduled to hit AMC theaters in the summer of 2017. But pre-production on the film is slated to start in February. In a recent interview, actor Brenton Thwaites confirmed his involvement in the film and revealed a few details of the plot. Thwaites said the following: "It's about a young man who wants to reconnect with his father, Davy Jones. There's a curse that prevents him from doing that. I think it's about how he goes around that and tries to fix it, and he has to save his dad. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun." John, what do you think about Thwaites' comments?
Interesting comments, actually, and here's why they're really interesting. Number one, we heard a little while ago that Orlando Bloom was talking about that. Yeah, we're talking about maybe I'll come back as Davy Jones. And I remember at the time thinking, well, they either have you in the script as Davy Jones or they don't. You know, so it's one or the other, you're coming here or not. But if you frame it into the context of these comments, you could have Davy Jones back or you could not. I mean, you could really just focus the story on this kid talking about the Orlando Bloom character. I think his name's Will in the movie. And, you know, maybe he shows up, maybe he doesn't. That becomes very flexible and you can work around that. So that makes sense. But I like the comments for another reason. And there's very little I've liked about the Pirates of the Caribbean after the first one, let alone news about this one. But what I like about this one is that the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie I thought was probably the worst of the series. And what they did was it was very much a standalone film. It was very disconnected from everything else or any through storyline other than Barbossa. That was the only connector. This at least seems to say we are re-emerging Pirates of the Caribbean back into the overall storyline, back into the bigger themes and plots. Look, they've got two very good directors, the Kon-Tiki directors, on board with this film. I think that gives it a little bit of life and a little bit of breath, but then again, they've brought good directors on before and it's never really worked. But I still don't think this is going to be any good. But I think this type of news is a step in the right direction. Anyway, Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't really care. Just because it's like the first movie was the one that I liked, and I liked it a lot, the first one, and then I didn't like really any of them after that. I actually thought the third one was the worst, but the fourth one, not so good. But these comments in general, I feel like I've seen this already in this movie. Someone's looking for their dad, or then there's a curse. I mean, because Johnny Depp at one point was looking for his dad, and then there was another curse around. It doesn't seem fresh. It just seems like maybe because there's new characters, and you know, there's a different guy looking for his dad, and then there was a different curse. It just seems like the rehash same themes that they've been doing over the last 4 movies, and I think this franchise is done. But I'm hoping that I'm wrong, because I think you could have a lot of fun with this franchise if done right. It looks dead.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'm kind of more with Christian on this. When I read those comments, my first thoughts were, I'm not looking forward to it, and I don't think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I don't know. I like the first one like you guys did, but yeah, the second two, I didn't even bother with the fourth one. But for me, this is kind of like a less terrible version of the Transformers franchise, where if you look at the box office right now, the domestic box office is actually going down, but the international is going up, and it's making a ton of money. The last, I think, 2 made over $1 billion, so they're gonna keep making these things.
Yeah, the last one, as bad as it was, I call it the worst of the bunch. Still made over $1 billion. I mean, so they're gonna keep rolling. There's nowhere to go but up, right? I mean, there's nowhere to go but up. Okay, what's next?
We all know that actor Simon Pegg is returning to the USS Enterprise to reprise his role as Scotty in the upcoming 3rd installment of the rebooted Star Trek franchise. But now it's being reported that Pegg will also be co-writing the script. Pegg has previously been a writer on films like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, Run, Fat Boy, and Paul. Dennis, is it reassuring or worrying that Pegg is now on as a writer for the film?
I mean, for me, it's hard to say, but I know for diehard Star Trek fans, it's probably worrying for them, because first they had Roberto Orci was going to do it. Roberto Orci had come out and said, look, I'm a fan of the Star Trek franchise. I'm going to bring it back more to like the classic style. And then he gets replaced with Justin Lin, who we know he makes more, at least lately, entertaining action popcorn flicks like The Fast and the Furious. And now you have Simon Pegg, who's known for his on-camera work and his comedy writing, onto something that, they feel should be more serious, have some social commentary to it. But so, as the diehard fans probably are not happy with this. Me, I have mixed feelings. I like the original, Star Trek TV series, and I like the latest 2 movies. But I don't know. The thing I'm worried about is Simon Pegg coming in there and writing how Scotty comes and saves the day, at the very end, and he's the big hero of it. That's my concern.
Christian?
I actually don't have that concerns with him for how much of a science fiction. He's a fanboy, this dude. He really. I think that I understand the concerns because his niche is comedy, and he's done well in comedy. So everyone's like, oh, it's just going to be a full-fledged comedy. The same thing would happen with Peyton Reed. When Peyton Reed with Ant-Man, everyone thinks because of his background, and it's not going to be the case. It won't be the case with him. He knows his franchise. He was involved with the first 2 scripts, the character development. I think it should be reassuring because you have a guy who really is concerned, and he's also a big Star Wars guy. And I know that Star Trek, Star Wars. Let's not say that. But don't forget what J.J. Abrams did for the first Star Trek movie. I think a lot of people can agree that the first Star Trek movie was great. And I think that he's on the same mindset. He knows the through line of where it's going. I think fans should be reassured.
See, I don't really care that he's a fan of sci-fi because, there was no greater fan of the Dungeons & Dragons source material than the guy who directed the Dungeons & Dragons movie, and, look how that turned out. I don't really think that matters. At first I get a little bit concerned because, the actor's going to write it, but a lot of people forget Simon Pegg is an established, talented screenwriter. And outside, and it's not just stuff he's done with Edgar Wright. Okay, granted, I didn't like Paul very much. I didn't think Paul was all that good. But I thought Run, Fat Boy, Run is actually an underappreciated, very clever movie, the way it's written. I like the way that he writes, and I totally agree with you. I like the direction the first 2, the new rebooted Star Trek. Yes, they are their own identity. They're not completely wrapped up with the old Star Trek, which I am also a big fan of. It's its own thing, and I love what it is its own thing. And I actually think that Simon Pegg is going to be a nice addition to the writing team on this. So to me, it actually increases my enthusiasm for it even more. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Actor Nicolas Cage has signed on to star in the upcoming comedy project Army of One. According to Coming Soon, the film is loosely based on a GQ magazine article about Colorado construction worker / ex-con Gary Faulkner, who attempted to sneak into Pakistan and Afghanistan multiple times armed with a sword in order to find bin Laden prior to the al-Qaeda leader's assassination at the hands of SEAL Team 6 in May of 2011. Christian, buy or sell the sounds of Army of One?
I am an army of one. I never know what to buy or sell with this guy. I'm gonna sell it only because, I want to watch it. Yeah, because he's like a car crash. He's like, you can't stop watching what he's doing because you never know. Because I saw Joe recently.
Right.
Best work he's done. The movie was fine. Best work he's done in a very long time. He was tuned in. That old Nicolas. Because when Nicolas Cage wants to act, he's a very capable actor. Then. Hey, you want to do a 7-Eleven commercial? Sure. Why not? He does everything. So I don't know. This doesn't sound. It could be really intriguing. It could turn out funny, but it could also be a complete nightmare, like the one he just was. What was the one that he just did that was nominated for all the Razzies?
Something Behind.
Left Behind.
Left Behind.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's so hard for me. I could change it once I see a trailer, but for now I'm going to sell it.
Dennis?
Oh, big buy for me. I think the premise is hilarious. I think Nicolas Cage in this role will kill it. And Larry Charles is directing it, who directed Borat, and he directed 2 of my favorite TV series of all time, which are Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. So I think it's going to be one of those movies that's going to be really, really funny that nobody's going to watch.
I hope so. I hope they watch it, though.
I buy this wholeheartedly. I think this sounds hilarious. I think this sounds great. And Nicolas Cage is one of those guys who he has become the poster boy for actors who will mail it in when they want to mail it in. But he's also, we forget, he is a multi-time Academy Award nominated actor. He's an Academy Award winning actor. When he wants to turn it on, he's still great. I love what he did in Kick-Ass. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, the one he was fantastic in that film. Just incredible. And then we see him in a bunch of other stuff and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to go, instead of looking at this from the Nicolas Cage angle, I'm just looking at it from the story. A true life story of just an average guy who tried to get into the Middle East with a sword to hunt down Osama bin Laden, played by Nicolas Cage. This could be really special. This could be special. All right, what's next?
The supposedly final installment of the Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, was delayed last year when actress Mila Jovovich announced that she and her husband, Paul W.S. Anderson, were expecting their second child together. However, Jovovich has now taken to her Facebook page and revealed the following. "I'm really proud of myself for not gaining the same amount of weight that I did with our first child, 75 pounds, because I have to be ready to start filming Resident Evil: The Final Chapter in August of this year, and I will also be nursing an infant simultaneously. Resident Evil: The Final Chapter is scheduled to hit AMC theaters on September 2nd, 2016. John, buy or sell Resident Evil, getting back on track."
Sell. Who cares? Look, I know. I know a lot of our viewers really do get a real good kick out of Resident Evil, and that's awesome. I mean, I'm not telling anybody they should or should not like something. A lot of people get it. Schnepp loves the Resident Evil. They're a guilty pleasure of his. That's great. I just find them awful. Not awful fun, just awful. And when they kind of put it on hiatus, I'm like, yay! And now it's back on. And we were joking around beforehand, Mila Jovovich getting on Facebook. Hey, if you thought the last thing me and my husband did together, that Three Musketeers movie was good, wait till you see what we're doing next. That was one of the most awful movies of the past 5,000 years. So yeah, nothing about this I find happy or redeemable. For me personally, it's a sell. Dennis?
Yeah, I sell it as well. I'm not a fan of the franchise. I've seen a couple of them, and they're just not for me. Yeah, Schnepp is a big fan. It's a guilty pleasure of his. But yeah, I remember going to Comic-Con, and you know how like in Hall H, if you want to see like a certain panel, you got to get there way beforehand. So you got to sit through some stuff you don't want to sit through. I sat through the Resident Evil panel. It was the worst panel I've ever seen. They literally were just talking to each other, almost like the audience wasn't there at all. And so I don't know. The super slow. They show some clips, super slow mo, using the Phantom camera like a ton of times.
The James Cameron stuff.
Yeah.
Christian?
I can't wait to see this. Yeah, I sell this thing as much as you can sell something. I'm also not a fan of the franchise. Plus, I don't want to see her simultaneously shooting and nursing on camera. But no, I understand it. These movies are very popular. Like they do okay.
Yep, they all make a little bit of money.
They do.
They're successful.
Okay. So I understand why they keep making them, and I do understand, like bringing up Schnepp and other people. There are people who say that exact same thing. I understand they're terrible. I just have fun with them.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of those people who has fun with them.
Yeah, me too. All right, what's next?
Back in 2009, Rob Zombie announced he was going to be developing a remake of the classic horror film The Blob, but ultimately those visions never materialized. Now Deadline is reporting that Simon West, director of such action films as Con Air, The Mechanic, and The Expendables 2, is taking on the project. West said the following: "With modern CGI, we can now fully realize the potential of The Blob. The world I create will be totally believable, immersive, and emotionally satisfying. It's a thrill to introduce an enduring icon to a wider audience and a whole new era of fans." Dennis, buy or sell a remake of The Blob?
Well, I'm not interested in The Blob specifically. I'll buy this because I'm interested in Simon West directing it. I think he's an underrated action director. I think Con Air is a classic 90s action movie, and you got Expendables 2, which was the best of the franchise in my opinion. That was a lot of fun. And The Mechanic, also a movie that people overlooked. I thought the action in that was actually pretty good. So I'm excited to see it from that standpoint. Not really The Blob, but I think he's a big upgrade over Rob Zombie.
I'm a complete carbon copy of you, except for the issue of The Blob. I buy this as well, and I am curious about a remake of The Blob. I remember back in 2009 when Rob Zombie was talking about it. I did not want Rob Zombie to direct The Blob, but I was really curious to see how a new one, because I think they did one, like in '88 or something like that. There was a Blob remake, whatever, but to see what they could do with that now, because it is a really cool premise. It's at its core the great sci-fi horror, like a little bit campy while it can be completely terrifying if you do it right. But I'm completely in agreement with you. The big reason I buy this is because you take a property like that with a guy like Simon West. I loved The Mechanic, actually. I thought the action in that was great. I thought the story was great. It was handled really well. Con Air, obviously big classic, and completely, I agree with you. The Expendables 2 was the best of the franchise so far. Working, under a guy, the actor who's actually the boss, and trying to make that work anyway. He does a great job with that stuff. What he does with the horror franchise, I think could be really exciting. Could be awful, but I think there's some big upside to this, so for me it's a buy.
Well, you guys left out the fact that Andy Serkis is playing the Blob. I'll buy it for basically the same exact reasons that you guys are buying. I like Simon West. I like what he's done in the past with those movies. I don't necessarily think we need a Blob remake, but it could certainly be fun. And I am on the same page with you with the Rob Zombie thing. When I was no, leave it in the 50s. Let's forget about the 80s remake and let's just say that's all it was, Rob. We don't need it. But he's doing it. Maybe there could be a fun spin on it. So it won't be on my most anticipated list by any means, but I would be curious.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, if you're watching us live, and I know a lot of you are watching us live right now, you can tweet in some questions to @AMC Movie News, and we're going to leave a few minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions that Ashley will pick out. But for now, let's get to the mailbag. So, Ashley, what do we have?
Ben Thompson writes, "Hi AMC, I'm a big fan of your work. Do you think Seth MacFarlane is capable of being the next Mel Brooks? They seem to have the same style of comedy. Thanks and bring on the filthy."
You know what? You are absolutely correct when you say there are similarities between Seth MacFarlane and Mel Brooks, particularly in their type of edginess. I believe that if Mel Brooks was starting out his career today and doing the stuff that he was doing, I believe he would look a lot like Seth MacFarlane. But does he have the potential to be the next Mel Brooks? Way too soon to call. Way too soon to call. Right now, as far as the movie world goes, Seth MacFarlane is batting 500. He's 1-1. I mean, he had Ted, which I thought was amazing comedy. I laughed so hard I physically hurt in that movie. But he also did A Million Ways to Die in the West, which was very, very disappointing. Certainly had its moments. I thought it had its moments. But overall, especially coming off of Ted, terrible. Dennis, you often point out that that movie could probably have been 10 times better if he didn't put himself in as the star. And maybe, but it's hard to tell. So the potential, is it there? I don't even want to comment on the potential. It's too soon to say. Let's see what he does with Ted 2. Let's see what he does after that. Then, like I said, let him get 2 more films under his belt, and then let's see if the potential's there or not. Anyway, Christian, what do you think?
I don't think he could be the next Mel Brooks. I think he's a talented dude, and I think that I agree with you. I like Ted a lot. Very similar to what he does in Family Guy, though. The humor is very similar.
Sure.
Even the voice of Ted was essentially a character from Family Guy, which, great, very funny. But Mel Brooks changed it up and was successful changing it up, whether it be with Young Frankenstein or
Blazing
Saddles or
Spaceballs or whatever else.
He changed the genre. Men in Tights. He changed the genre all the different times. And from your point of not starring in the movie, Mel Brooks would put himself in the movie and delivered his lines and then got out of there.
Yeah.
He wasn't the guy that was full front and say, okay, guys, here I am. And it seems Seth MacFarlane to me seems like he wants to be a star. I agree with you, though. I think The Million Ways to Die in the West could have done a lot better had you had the right comedy star in there. So that reason alone makes me say no, because his decision making, I think, is in a different stratosphere than what Mel Brooks was in.
Yeah.
Well, even Mel Brooks in Life Stinks, I thought he was good in that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's too early to tell. Yeah, they do have a similar sense of humor, kind of slapstick with some meta. They're a little crude. I think MacFarlane's a lot cruder than Mel Brooks, though.
That's what I said. I think if Brooks was around today, I think he would have been cruder too.
Yeah, he had to push that envelope. But yeah, it is a wait and see type of thing.
All right, what's next?
Henry Morales writes, "Hi, love the show. I watch it every day. Looking forward to AMC Movie Talk Phase 3. Question, I know how you feel about sequels to older popular movies, example, Ghostbusters, but I was wondering if you could make a sequel showing the characters of the older movie in today's modern time. Which movie would you pick? I'd like to see a sequel to Gone in 60 Seconds or maybe Clueless, just as an example."
Clueless would be a wreck. I'm probably going to say the one here that I'll be shocked if at least one of these two guys, we haven't talked about this, but I'll be shocked if one of these guys doesn't have this on their list as well. Goonies.
Damn it, John.
I knew it.
Damn
I
it,
knew at least
John.
one of you would. To me, Goonies. And look, I know there has been talk about them trying to get a Goonies going, but I'm not interested in the children of the Goonies going off. I want to see the original Goonies now that they're like middle-aged and struggling to pay mortgage. I want to see the original Goonies back together where something happens. Maybe one of them goes missing and they have to come together as a group again. Maybe they haven't seen each other in 15 years. They come together as a group again to go on one more adventure, to find something that happened to their friend or something else. I don't know. I don't care. I would just love to see that original group back together. So for me, it's the Goonies. Dennis, we'll give you a minute to think of another one. Christian.
I mean, it's been rumored forever, and whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know. But Army of Darkness, it's been rumored forever. Even with the Evil Dead spin-off or the remake, whatever it was, they were going to kind of loop that back in. It hasn't happened. I really want to see that. I was going to say Goonies as well. And and the other ones that I wanted to happen are happening. I wanted to see the Creed spin-off, the Apollo Creed type spin-off, but they're doing it in a little bit of a different direction now with Rocky as a trainer. They're kind of redoing what they messed up in 5, to where he gets to train Apollo's grandson. I think that's brilliant. I think it's a great way to keep spinning off that franchise. And Last Blood. So I'm a happy camper.
Oh, to give you another minute to think about it, I thought of another one I wouldn't mind seeing, even though they have one of those things at the end of the movie, this guy went on to do this, and still, The Sandlot.
Oh, yeah.
I really like to see what happens to those kids later. Now, we know at the end of The Sandlot, the one guy went on to the major leagues, the other kid is actually a sports scholar who's calling his plays. Well, let's see what even happens after that. Now these guys are like in their 50s, 60s, whatever, something else. I'd be interested in seeing a Sandlot thing. Thought of anything else?
No, not really.
All right. In that case, folks, we said we would save a few minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Once again, you can follow us on Twitter at AMC Movie News. So send on in some questions to at AMC Movie News. And I got a couple of minutes here, too. So Ashley's going to pick some out. So, Ashley, what have you selected?
Paul L. writes, I'm really curious as to why would Batman and Superman would fight each other because they're both superheroes. So why?
Well, that's a great question. I think a lot of times those of us who are really immersed in the geek culture, we take these sorts of questions for granted, and we forget that most of humanity is not in our super geeky culture. So it's a great question. It all comes down to the nature of the two heroes. One of the things that has always been great about the mythology of Batman and Superman is not the fact that they're both heroes, but they are so diametrically opposed and different types of heroes. You get Superman, who is the Boy Scout. He's the true red, white, and blue. Truth, justice, the American way. Everything done by the rule book. All that kind of stuff. You get Batman, who is a vigilante. He believes in stopping evil at its own game. He will go out and bust everybody's ribs up just because he didn't like the way. He thought you might snatch that lady's purse. Let me teach you a lesson. Bam, 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 And so in the comics, there are times when the two of them have come to on different sides of an issue that would come up where, the government doesn't want Batman doing something, so they call on Superman to stop him, which is one of the hooks that they used in The Dark Knight Returns. So right now, when we come into the movie universe, we have Batman who's trying to protect his city, and then he sees that, hey, there's this alien in this world who just had this big fight, and he's so powerful, destroyed, part of downtown Metropolis just because he had one fight with somebody. I see this dude as an alien threat. There's lots of different ways they could approach this. But that's the way we've been assuming it, right? That's because Bruce Wayne sees Superman as a threat. Well, what if it's the other way around? What if it's more like The Dark Knight Returns, where the government goes to Superman and says, we've got this vigilante problem. There's this dude who's giving us headaches called Batman. Go take care of that for us. They might go that way, although I think they're going to go the other way. But anyway, there are many different ways you can paint it, but it all comes down to its core that these guys' philosophies are two completely opposites from each other, which makes them great allies in the comics, but also makes them butt heads sometimes. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see on screen. Anyway, Christian, what do you think?
Well, I think they're going the first way, because if you watch Man of Steel with the little Easter eggs of how there are things that Gotham getting blown to bits, there's things in LexCorp getting blown to bits. I think Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne at first are going to kind of team up to take this alien down, and eventually they'll have this big fight, and then eventually Bruce Wayne, Batman, will see the error of his ways and understand that Kal-El is indeed on his side. But I think that those are two big egos, man, that are going to be going at it, and it's going to be iconic. You're going to want to see it, and it'll be like a big, huge fight. I think that they'll set it up in the way that you'll understand exactly why they're fighting each other, and you might not. Almost like Captain America and Iron Man. As to where you like when we get there, you don't know who you want to root for, and then by the time you do, everything will be okay.
Dennis?
From a story standpoint, I don't know which way it's going to go, but I feel like also just these are two characters that don't know each other. You don't know each other's agenda. They don't know each other's purpose. I mean, you take it to our regular world, real person world. Think about like when you introduce two friends together. You're like, oh, that guy's a great guy. That guy's another great guy. And they meet, and then later they're like, oh, I hate that guy. Right. You just don't know. You don't know how things, the chemistry or how people click. So
what are you trying to tell me, Dennis?
Well, John knows a lot of things.
Okay, what's next?
Alexander Burton writes, hi AMC, love the show. What is the best performance in an otherwise bad movie? Mine is Amy Adams in Night at the Museum 2.
Oh God, that's something. That's the type of question that it's a great question, but it's one of those questions I'd have to sit down and actually think through about. Like I don't walk around with, hey, best performance in a bad movie. I mean, I'd have to think about it.
Yeah,
You guys
me
got
too.
any that jump off the top of your
For
head?
me, Sean Penn and what was that movie? I Am Sam.
I Am Sam, yeah.
I thought he did a great job in it, but the movie I did not like at all.
You could say that about Monster, I guess, too, with Charlize Theron. The movie was okay, but I thought she was, incredible.
She won the Academy Award for
She
that,
did.
doesn't she?
And same thing with, Jennifer. That not horrible movies. So again, I have to think about it. But like even with Cake, which was an okay movie, and Jennifer Aniston was just amazing.
All right, what's next?
Snow writes, what is your favorite twist in a movie?
It's hard. I mean, it's the stereotypical one, but it's a stereotype for a reason. The one in Sixth Sense was just fantastic. I mean, that's a great twist. So I might be able to think of others that I like more, but off the top of my head, the Sixth Sense one, like I said, it's a cliche now, but at the time, there's a reason everybody in the pop culture was talking about it.
I am baffled that you said that one.
Really?
I am your father. I mean, come
Well,
on.
okay, no, see, obviously that is the biggest twist.
That's Shakespeare stuff right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Usual Suspects is a great one.
I'd say Usual Suspects for me. Just
Yeah.
because if you rewatch it, I don't think anything gets ruined by knowing what the ending is,
Right.
So.
And the original Planet of the Apes still.
Yeah.
knocked people's
With
brains
the Statue
apart.
of Liberty
Oh
and-
man, yeah, that way that they did that. Not the Abe Lincoln one, Tim Burton. The original one is just something that people still talk about.
All right, what's next?
Flex writes, do you think there could be a live-action Simpsons movie, and who would play the Simpson family?
Oh, a live-action Simpsons movie? No,
Terrible.
No, terrible
Yeah.
idea.
Awful.
Terrible. It
It's
might
like the
be.
Flintstones. When they did the Flintstones, it didn't work.
Yeah, that did. And plus, people know and love The Simpsons as they are. It's something that maybe The Simpsons might want to try as an experiment, like out of left field experiment in their final season for one episode, maybe. But to do a feature film on that, no,
No one would watch it.
no one would watch it. No one wants it either. All right, what's next?
The Terrible Twins writes, why do comedy sequels fail to live up to the original?
Well, they don't always, but
A lot of times they do because they rehash the same jokes.
Yeah.
And that's because they don't know where to go with it. Because you're gonna have a sci-fi or drama or whatever going into more movies, there's through lines in their story. That's where if a comedy hits, we gotta do a sequel. What do? Let's just do the same things. Just try to tell a little bit of the same. Oh yeah, we just tell the same jokes. But they like it the first time. Will they like it the second time? And normally we don't.
one of the worst examples of a comedy sequel, like just almost ruined the original, was Analyze This to Analyze That. It's the Billy Crystal, Robert De Niro, because the first one, Analyze This, was hilarious.
Yeah.
I think Lisa Kudrow played Billy Crystal's wife in that too. Extremely funny. Second one, so awful. The only one I can think of right off the top of my head where I thought the sequel in the comedy was actually funnier and better than the original was Rush Hour. The first Rush Hour was okay. I thought Rush Hour 2 was a great movie. I really do. I thought it was funny and exciting and all that kind of stuff. But that's the one comedy I can think of.
I think 22 Jump Street for me.
Oh, yeah?
Is even
Good one.
funnier than the first one.
Yep. No,
yeah.
you're absolutely right. I didn't
Yeah.
even
But
think about
I agree with you. It's the narrative because you have this funny concept, but then when you revisit it again, it's not as funny.
And that's why 22 Jump Street worked, because they played
Yeah.
on that. And they pretty much showed, this is the same movie. It's exactly the same movie, and we're telling you, no comedy has done that, and that's why I think that movie worked. But a movie that was horrible sequel, Caddyshack 2. Movie that actually delivered Austin Powers 2. That's
Yes,
what it delivered.
yes, Austin, that's another good
It
one,
happens, but it's, you can remember, Hangover 2 did not work for me.
No.
Because it was a rehash. So there was, more times than not, they don't work.
All right, let's take one final one for the day.
All right, Georgia writes, which Marvel hero would you like to see turn into a villain?
Oh, which Marvel hero would I like to see turned into a villain? Okay, let's for argument's sake say confine it to the cinematic universe. Well, we've already kind of seen Hawkeye do it,
Yeah.
but zombie-ish stuff like that. Because all the natural elements are there. Hulk would be great. I mean, they did several animated movies with the Avengers where it's the Avengers come together to stop Hulk. So I would like to see them. And that opens the doors for Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, all that kind of stuff. So for many different reasons on the scale, I'd say Hulk.
I think Hulk's the most open to it.
Obvious one too, most obvious.
Yeah, Hulk to me seems like a big dog, though. I don't want him to, it's like I don't want to put my dog down. I love the Hulk. I want to see him, but it would be interesting, although it'll never happen, to see Thor, because if Thor lost it, we're in trouble. Yeah. But it'll never happen.
Hulk and Thor are good. It has to be someone super powerful.
Right.
Maybe Silver Surfer, someone like that.
Ooh. Yeah, okay. He fits. He has been in a cinematic universe, so that works.
Or Quicksilver. Oh, that's not an MSU. I guess it's.
All right, folks, so that reaches the end of our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And listen, we've got another YouTube channel called AMC Independent, where Amy Rose and Alicia Malone just cover all the world of indie film, because we love indie film over here. Go on over and make sure you check them out. And they're actually off right now at the Sundance Film Festival, so keep your eye open for lots of content they're going to be sending our way from there. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting right here, our production manager, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero or on Instagram, dennis.tzeng. Thanks.
Over there, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you?
Instagram, Twitter, @Christian Harloff. You guys been doing all these Star Wars things. What do you think the next spin-off movie is going to be? Very curious of what you guys think.
And, of course, way over there, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
Twitter, Instagram, @AshleyMova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And you can find me on the various social media networks, just @John Campia. Thanks for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.